City.
So this is our PS5 Disc Drive. On the outside, I can tell that it's slightly different shaped, but it's got a logic board in it, just like with the first gen PS4s. So this does have a dedicated disc drive logic board, which means that if something is to happen to this disc drive, like if I toss this disc drive in the trash can, I'm never gonna be able to get my PS5 to read discs again, because this logic board is paired to the motherboard in my PS5. So that, from a repairability perspective, is not a good thing, because if something is to happen to this logic board, I'm never gonna get my PS5 to read discs again. I can't just replace the disc drive without having a matching logic board. All right, we're gonna take apart the disc drive by removing the screws. Now we're going to remove these 4 Phillips screws on the top. And again, the screwdriver in this case should be a Phillips 0. And a Phillips 0 will work. A 1 will not work with these. These are too small. Now we should be able to separate the top of the disc drive. I'm gonna take the logic board out of the disc drive. This is a component you want to be very careful with. You should treat it just like you treat your main board, with care and respect. Because if this thing breaks, you're screwed. Your PS5 is never gonna read discs again. All right, very carefully, we're gonna lift the logic board out. All right, we're gonna remove the logic board completely. There's a ribbon cable here. We're gonna pull this one out. There's another cable here, which I imagine operates the top, because it's got 2 wires, and that's what those switches usually are. I'm gonna remove this. This connector actually reminds me a lot of the first model PS3 disc drive connectors. Those that are worked with game consoles know what I'm talking about. There's another ribbon cable here. Gonna pull that out. Up top here, we have a ribbon cable, but it's got a connector that's got a clip. We're gonna lift it like that, pull the cable out, and now we got the logic board and the disc drive separated. So that's what the logic board looks like. This is what the back looks like. All right, let's take a closer look at the disc drive. This is the arm that, when you put a disc in, this moves in this direction, and then it hits a switch, and then then gears start spinning here, and the PS4 knows that there's a disc in the system. It starts to accept the disc. These are rollers that would break quite frequently on previous PS4 models. These would come misaligned. If you put 2 discs in there or jam maybe a foreign object that's not supposed to be here, these rollers would come out, and then your PS4 wouldn't accept discs. I've done a couple of videos on that for PS4, so I imagine that is also going to be an issue with these, and it is going to be not easy to get to this. I'm going to take the disc drive apart to show you guys what it looks like on the inside. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 Phillips screws here. This is an interesting shape for a disc drive. Instead of a square or a rectangle like the older PS models, they went with this shape. I suppose probably to save space. But anyways, we're gonna take these Phillips screws out that hold the top of the disc drive in. All right, we're gonna lift it up like that. Top mechanism right there, like I showed you guys. All right, now we're in the disc drive. All right, so as you can see here, these are the rollers that would come misaligned on older units. That's the laser right there. So if in the future, after a couple of years, if you're watching this year and a half from now and your PS5 is struggling to read games, you need to clean this laser. If that doesn't work, you either have a bad logic board or your laser is completely bad and you need to change the laser. And I see that it's going to be easy to replace the whole deck because there's 3 screws that hold the deck in and the deck's going to come out. All right, let's remove the deck. There's one ribbon cable that's still connected at the front. We're gonna be gentle when removing this. This is gonna be a pain in the butt to put back in, but I'm doing this for you guys, so. But yeah, we're gonna remove this ribbon cable. We're gonna pinch it and then pull up like that. And now we got the laser deck out of the disk drive. This is what the laser deck looks like. I believe this is a Fast Tech exclusive. I haven't seen anyone in the world that's disassembled the disk drive down to the laser deck. And that's what the laser deck is. This is what the laser looks like. It's a model KEM 497 AAA. That's the model number of the laser deck. And the deck itself, it's plastic instead of metal. Usually the whole cradle is metal, but this time they went with a plastic deck, which is an interesting choice. I imagine probably to save weight, and it's probably better for heat, I would imagine. So if you want to replace the laser deck, all you got to do is put it back in. Same way we took it out. Putting the ribbon cable back in is going to be a little bit tricky because there's like no space here. It reminds me of that old Sony ad that got banned in the United States for being too racist. If you guys know what it is, you know what it is. We're gonna line up the connector. Once it's in, we're gonna push the blue side of the cable, not the white part. We're not gonna mess with the white part, okay? We're only gonna push it in with the blue part. And it should be in all the way up to the blue line. So when you can't see, well, if you can barely see the blue line, that's when you know it's in. Yeah, now it's in. You can barely see the blue line. We're gonna put it back in the rest of the drive. There's this rubber piece that came out. All right, we're gonna put the screws back in. 4 screws that hold it in. Check tightness on them. And while you're doing this, you want to make sure you never touch the head of the laser lens, the glass part, because you could damage it or dirty it. Now we're going to put the top frame back on. Like that. I'm gonna put the 4 Phillips screws that hold it in. All right, so these cables go in like this. The ribbon cable clips in. All right, this one's gonna go in here like that. And then these 2 cables in the back, I'm gonna install them in. Again, all the way up till the blue line. Same with this one. I'm gonna push this in all the way to the blue line. All right. Now we're gonna put our disk drive in like that into the back plate of the disk drive. Like this. Line up these holes here, and then we're gonna put the screws that hold the disk drive logic board in. Just one here, and one here. Then we're gonna put the top frame back on. Again, make sure that you don't pinch any of these cables. You make sure that this disk drive is where it's supposed to be. And then be very careful again not to pinch this cable on the side here. All right. Make sure everything lines up, which it does. We're going to install these screws back in. All right, now our disk drive is ready to be installed. That's it, guys. That's another video from Fast Tech. Don't forget to smash that like button, smash that subscribe button if you haven't already, and check out my vlog channel in which I travel the world and I record my adventures. Link for that is going to be in the description box. This is Shiroz from Fast Tech signing out, and I'll see you in the next one.